Chapter 19. I must guard the place of myself. I must guard the place of myself. 2 Timothy 2:7 says, "Consider what I say, and may the Lord give you understanding in all things." God gave us understanding so that we could discern the things of heaven and earth. First, I must discern things about myself well and live according to God's will. If I can't discern myself, I become a foolish person. The Israelites could not correctly discern between Egypt's things and Canaan's things with God's word in the desert. I must know how to correctly discern myself with God's word. We are children who receive the love of God. We are people who receive God's management. Then, we must discern well, starting with fundamental things, and keep God's word with the understanding He has given us. First, our daily lives must be clean. I must guard my spirit, soul, and flesh, and be without flaw, dot, or speck. The time of the end is when Satan makes the most frantic last attempts. If we should come out alive, we must live cleanly in truth. The person who remains clean is God's person. What sort of person of faith is one who can't guard his or her body and heart? Since we must restore God's holiness, we must live in truth. The era of love is different from the time when truth was known only as instructions. The era of love completes spirit and flesh, and there must be no shame before God, who penetratingly sees our spirits and daily lives. Even amongst the tribes of the Israelites, God refined the tribe of Levi like gold. To put them next to Himself, He made them clean. He strikes evil so that He can save me. We must guard our places well and open our eyes correctly. How could God acknowledge us without effort? We must discern well with the understanding God has given us and guard our places and positions. If we should be used in the work of saving lives, we must perfectly know the things of heaven. We must go according to God's laws. We must regard the ones who God placed next to us as precious. We must be able to embrace them in the love of God. I must know the work I'm supposed to do and not deviate from the work commanded by God. If I live the life of having deviated from Him, understanding becomes foggy. Satan takes advantage of the smallest opportunity and comes inside. Many families in this era are breaking apart because Satan has taken advantage of the smallest opportunity and gone inside. God had paired up husbands and wives together, so each person must do well at keeping his and her place. This doesn't happen just because a person tries to put in the effort by himself or herself. When both put in the effort with the understanding that God has given, peace comes to the family and heaven becomes fulfilled. We must guard the places entrusted to us. Each person has a place with which he or she was entrusted in the family. Husband has the place of husband, wife has the place of wife, and child has the place of child. But when a person comes out of his or her place, there are problems. Starting from the moment a person comes out of his or her place, there's a fracture in the family and things become difficult. Even if just one person comes out of the place in the family, all family members experience difficulty. This is the spirits of Satan being active and people are being deceived. So I must know just how important the one person I is. If the person I can't correctly guard his or her own place, all of the surroundings become noisy. We must keep our places correctly. If each individual in the family keeps his or her place correctly, the family can live peacefully without any problems. If each person knows what one has to do and abides by it, there is no way the family becomes destroyed. Yet, even if one person does not guard his or her place, a crack starts widening in the family. Satan enters through that crack. Starting from Eden, the serpent took advantage of the relationship between man and woman and entered, and they sinned. So we must not let even the smallest of opportunities. If God makes a command, we have to keep it. When we don't keep it, sin comes inside. So sin gives birth to sin, and Satan's activities become prosperous. If we're going to be used in the work of saving lives and not be seized by Satan, we must guard our places. If one keeps the position of his or her place well, it also looks good in the eyes of other people. But if one goes on an irrelevant path, not only does he or she experience difficulty, but the surrounding people go through difficulty as well. The problem becomes serious. Potiphar's wife seduced Joseph, but he didn't fall for it. No one was looking, but he surely guarded his place. He went to prison under false charges. But he ultimately went as far as to the position of prime minister. Such faith can't be found now in this era. This era is corrupt. Faith is not about talking with our lips. The spirit must genuinely change. One must start with guarding one's place perfectly. If one does not keep the position of one's place, problems are created. Now, we must not be deceived by Satan. We must keep truth and correctly guard the families we were given. When we guard ourselves, we can put our confidence and trust in one another. If we don't guard and disobedience enters, faith gets disconnected. Then, the relationship with God becomes disconnected. We must become the faith where God can acknowledge us and put his confidence and trust in us. There is a quantity of which he desires from us, and we have to fill it. In all aspects of daily living, God's children must do well at guarding the position of one's own self. Love of the master bedroom must be kept. To keep one's own place in the relationship between husband and wife is the most important thing in the family. To keep one's place is to keep love. If one's place cannot be kept, love breaks apart. This love is love contained in the master bedroom. The master bedroom is the center of the family and is the most precious place. Is it all right that someone snatches away this precious place? If this place can't be kept, the family begins to fracture. There is a crack at the center. If love of the master bedroom in the family falls apart, it becomes hard to patch up. When the love of the master bedroom can't be kept and it shatters, it is difficult to resolve. This is the same for spiritual things. If there's a fracture at the center of the faith towards God, it is difficult to recover. If the center of our faiths breaks apart, it is the end. The love for which a person is responsible for keeping is the love of husband and wife. That there's a problem with a child is also due to the problem of love between husband and wife. This is why the master bedroom, which is the center of the family, is important. How would it be if Satan deceived us and we spilled away the love of the master bedroom to any place? More and more families are breaking apart because the love of the master bedroom was snatched away. There are numerous children who undergo pain because of this. If the love of the master bedroom gets snatched away, the end has come for that family. We must know there are too many people in this era whose spiritual master bedrooms have been snatched away as well. The spiritual master bedroom being snatched away is Satan making the most of a tiny chance and entering the place of the relationship with God. Obviously, there can be no joy at a place where the love of the master bedroom was snatched away. Starting from the time that it was snatched away, there is no love. Since love has been poured out to the outside, there can be no happiness inside me. Because the love of husband and wife was poured outside, it can't be given to him or her. Love has leaked to the outside. If love doesn't come out of me, it has already left and a problem has been created. We must keep the love of the master bedroom so that we can enjoy peace and so that we can guard the family. We must maintain the fidelity of faith. In the Bible, those who received God's covenant maintained the fidelity of faith towards God until the end, and they entered an eternal world. That God said, "I have sworn by myself," in Isaiah 45:23, means he will keep the covenant that he had proclaimed. God has a love that he promised to us. It is the love of the cross of Jesus Christ who saved us. I must maintain the fidelity of faith so that this love inside me doesn't leak out. The more this love is poured out, the better it is. Yet if this love can't correctly stand inside me, I become seized by Satan and my spirit dies. Just as there can't be two loves in the husband and wife relationship, God's cord of life is one. God's covenant is one. It can't be divided. To be one, the fidelity of faith must be maintained. Just one person doesn't maintain the fidelity of faith, as it's something that both persons must maintain. If love is poured out to a place where it shouldn't be poured out, this is to be Satan's food. So we must not let there be any opportunities. We must maintain our faiths as well as our families. Each individual must correctly maintain his or her fidelity of faith. Then, the family goes on to be soundly established in love.